Good afternoon, everybody, and good morning or good night from wherever you are. Um, this is a session that I have to say was the inspiration of Peter. So thank you, Peter, for starting this idea. But the VSM AI Special Integration Group started in January of this year, and we're meeting every third Wednesday of every month. And the idea of the special integration group is to just approach AI from a VSM angle. Actually, very early on, we had some discussions about what is the purpose of the SIG, special integration group. And there were like two main topics that emerged. One was how can we use AI for understanding and disseminating and teaching VSM better. And the other one was how can we use the VSM principles and cybernetic principles to maybe have a say about the proliferation of AI, the impact on society, and all of the things that are happening very fast now. But if you step back a bit and you look at it from a cybernetics perspective, you might have a cooler, uh, you know, um, take on things. So we've been meeting, as I said, every month. There's been various ideas flown around, great discussions. It's been an amazing place to share ideas, share like the latest developments, because that's the other thing. I mean, it's not a static technology. Things change weekly. And we're trying to keep up with all these things and like also, um, as I said before, like look at these things from a cybernetics and VSM perspective. So I'm not sure if somebody else from the foreplay team, Peter or Margaret, who I believe you're there, but we cannot see you, wanted to say something before I just jump in.
Well, just Margaret, why don't you say something?
All right. Well, welcome. Have a seat. I'm just doing a timekeeping role, and we'll be trying to gather your questions and thoughts, and then interrogate these two tools, if you like, and show you how we think it can be used as a learning process and a inquiry process. Yeah,
yeah. And I'm very keen on how we use AI across the board, particularly in light of the presentation just before lunch by Jan, which was quite very informative about how they're thinking about it in the automotive industry. But I think this is crucial to our time, and I think Metaphorum has an important role to play about this. So even in the operation of Metaphorum itself. So I'd really invite anybody to join the SIG or be in communication with the four of us who are concerned about this topic, in the future. Thanks.
Amazing. And with that, I think I'll start sharing my screen.
Would it be okay if we try to get these lights up? Yeah, because those switches at the bottom.
these ones.
Yeah. Just makes the screen easier if they come off. Yeah, they're a bit weird, Mark. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
There you go. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yep.
The VSM and AI.
You can't hear it though.
A SIG presentation.
My computer like betrayed me, so that was supposed to be like a.
Welcome the VSM.
We can hear it, but not very loud. So if you are quiet, that's okay.
Turn the volume up.
Were you able to hear the sound? That was like a sound check.
A little bit, but it's very quiet. Can you turn it up?
Yes, when we are quiet, we can hear it.
Okay, so forget that. So we sent along, we started with a pre-survey. Thank you so much for replying to that. We have like 19 results already from people. So I'm just gonna wanted to start with this kind of like baseline of where we are in terms of AI as individuals, right? And I've been doing like several workshops with companies and organizations at my college with AI, and we see that people are all over the board, but also that and people, I mean, there's definitely a gap of skills and knowledge about AI, even the AI that, we can have like as a consumer. So let's see where we are as a group. What is your current role? As you can see, like all kinds of different roles here. Educator, consultants, of course, cybernetician, activist, grounded, all of these kind of things that, represent a very, the amazing, diverse group that we have. Krishan, can you lower the hand from Angela's account there in the, because it's like, no, in the Zoom meeting, it seems like Angela is always like your computer is always like raising the hand for a question. So let's move on. How familiar are you with, self-reported, of course, with how Gen AI tools create responses in the potential limitations? So slightly more than they have, the average at the middle point there. So people think that, they're kind of, a bit above the,
Can't see the
you know,
screen.
I mean,
Yes.
can you repeat that, please?
We can't see your screen at the moment. We're trying to fix it right now.
You cannot see my screen?
No, just wait a minute, Panos, sorry.
We don't think it's your end.
No, it's not, because we can see it.
Yep.
What's happening? Krishan.
I think it's on the room computer.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Yeah, change the view, yeah.
Why don't you go back to the last slide then, Panos? Maybe. Or maybe not, because they didn't see it. No, it's a nice picture.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it, but they can't see it in the room yet because it's not being displayed because of the way the room's set up.
Now we've got you back again.
Yeah, it's back.
Yes.
We've got the technician, we have the expert helping.
Also, I think like the camera is like pointing towards like, I mean, is there like another part of the room with like
That's just looking at
hundreds
the
of
room.
people there?
That's looking at the room, and they've got the lights off. And
Many people just do this.
How many cyberneticians does it take to get the right window?
Yeah, it's doing what the
Oh,
camera.
that's nice. Lots of chairs, I can tell you that.
yeah, so it's on the screen now, then, right? And you can see it.
Yeah. Up and down. Are you on slideshow display on slides?
Yeah, we can see slides. It's called "What is your current role?" and that's what's displaying on the screen on the Zoom.
Yeah, that's what we got.
Just carry on now.
Carry on.
Go for it,
Please carry on.
Panos.
I think it's gonna be a bit difficult to carry on without showing the screen. At
Right.
least.
See the screen?
see the screen. Right,
Okay.
now we have it exactly right to go and carry on with the presentation.
Perfect. Thank you. So I was saying that, we're a bit above like the middle place there in terms of, hi, Angela, in terms of, where we are as the knowledge of like AI tools and stuff like that, like at 3.4. And you see how the mix is here. Going forward, of course, clear winner, no surprises here. ChatGPT in terms of like benefit, but also frequency of use. But you can see like, the data set is like so much spread, right? Everybody's like all over the place. Second one has been Gemini, Copilot, and all of that. But you see, generally speaking, and this is across the board, people are not using it a lot, are not seeing yet a lot of benefit. But some are like going like really fast with these things. What features or techniques people are using? Of course, like just basic text prompting. Some say they use like advanced prompting, like, specifying roles and stuff like that. Analyzing data, generating images. I think a lot of people have played with that, especially in the last few months. Custom profiles, web search, across the board. Some of the things that, I've seen this like across many different contexts. Agents are like just now emerging. voice interaction. I think very few people have discovered the power of voice interactions. So this is more or less the breakdown of how people are using in our group AI. And in terms of like end gain, what sort of use cases and how beneficial I think it is. Most people research and question answering, document summarization, document drafting. Of course, like this is the classic thing with ChatGPT, write me my email, summarize that document and stuff like that. Not so much image generation and video generation and all of that sort of stuff, which I think is going to be absolutely viral in the next few months. It's already in some cases simulations here, also a very powerful thing, and data analysis. So these are the classic ones you would expect, but these two are I think very much emerging as great use cases. So concerns, accuracy and reliability of AI output. Of course, I follow Professor Ethan Mollick from Wharton University in Pennsylvania. He has an amazing book called Co-Intelligence. One of the things he says is that the concept of the jagged frontier. So you don't really know what the AI is good at. It can be like very good at certain things that you wouldn't expect, and then in certain others that you would expect it would be so easy for it. It's not. So it's like this jagged frontier of capabilities. And we can see that here as well. Can I trust the output? Ethical bias challenges, of course, a huge thing about AI. And the third one, keeping up with AI developments, is the one that we're also hoping to achieve with this VSM AI SIG, right? And personally, I have benefited a lot by attending these monthly sessions. And outside of the monthly sessions, we have a Discord. We're going to be talking about that later. Allows us to share information. Thank you, Peter. He just posted on the chat the link to the book. It's amazing. So with that, I would like to go to another mentee. Well, any quick, I want to emphasize the quick, any quick remarks about the results we just show? Someone that says, oh, I wanted to do that, or great. So I'm just going to go now to another Mentimeter that I want you to visit here. So I'm going to be presenting this thing. I'm inviting you to scan the
What's the number? There it is. 959. 956.
You can either go to menti.com and use the code, or just scan the QR code with your phone. And I would like to invite you to, and what we have thought about doing now is like explore some organizational problems and see how we can use AI to help us with that.
We're trying to create an interactive system so you can scan it and then open up and then start generating.
What was that?
I'm just explaining, I'd like them to open up the Menti app and actually start inputting your points so you can use the data real time.
Yes. So we're going to be seeing those things coming in very shortly. Oh, sorry.
It says, please wait for the presenter to change slides, it says. And there you go.
If I can ask you to be a bit more specific. So when I say organizational problem, things like, how do we make sure, I'm just coming up with stuff now. How to ensure that we can survive in a very, fast-paced world, something like that, a bit more specific, or, how do we make sure that, the information coming out of operations, like something that we know is a bit more meat, because so far, things like one-word things, I don't think will be very useful to us. Just provide a bit more context here.
But then you need to limit the amount of words in here. So
To
we
how?
can't say full sentences.
Mhm.
I think it only lets you do it once. It says, please wait, you've already responded to this question.
Yeah, it's
If
once
only
you
do it.
submit it, you can like put your
Right.
phone on the side.
Yeah. Or maybe I could do it on the computer and my phone as well. Well, that's a good set of words.
It is, yeah. It's the quality, I think, increased quite considerably.
Well, you
in the
gave
last
better
minute.
direction. You know, maybe that was the point. You know, it's like,
We're learning too.
well, we're learning exactly and how to use Menti. We've never used Menti in this conference so far, so this is new for Metaphorum in this conference today.
Okay, so I see one more active person who's like entering their answers. We're gonna wait for that, and then in a very democratic way, I'm gonna choose one that I think is appropriate for our next step.
And I guess AA can't work on this yet to sort of see. I mean, it'd be great to suddenly sort of draw some kind of. I guess
of course we
a
can.
word cloud is the way that you get more. Yeah. So no way to sort of. Although you've got two in the middle that are very bright, right? Bias and complexity. Does that mean they're more relevant or something?
Okay, so I captured those, and we can always. I'm gonna post that into let's see here. I'm just gonna post that to ChatGPT in the background here. What are the main themes and emerging ideas here?
There you go.
Something like that. Just took a screen grab. Nice word cloud. So this is what ChatGPT has to say about our word cloud here. Main themes: complex and system synthesis, power dynamics and bias, communication and trust, ethics and values. Emerging ideas: rethinking how organizations manage complexity, bias, powers, and fairness, and move towards values-driven approaches, right?
Right. Can you just put that in the chat?
Sure. So
Are you going to choose one, Panos?
yes, I am going to choose one. And
But we need a little bit more context. But we have chosen two ChatGPT instances. One is the instance from Mark Lambert's called VSM GPT, and he has trained it for over a year with preparing workshops and evaluating results in real life work in a large company. And so that should be very aware of what's needed for teams, organization parts, and so on to use VSM. And the other one is a relatively new one. It's called If I Could Ask Stafford Here. And it has not been fed with so much practice, but with some books of Stafford Here. So that's the span of ChatGPT we can work with. And what we are just doing now is to collect concerns from you and proposals for things, and we do very undemocratic. We choose one for asking both instances of the ChatGPT and after that, you look at the answers and discuss the answers. And you do that for two questions. And that's it. Have a question?
Are we applicating now our own sensing? Applicate.
No, but let's see what we gather in candidate application. Would you like to tell us how we get into these two then ask
Yes, the links are in the chat on the Zoom, and they're also on the SCED description for this event. I mean, this session. So you can get to if you want to use the ChatGPT links that are Stafford Beer and the books and so on. They're in the SCED on the session description.
So you can play with yourself while we do it.
Yeah, sure.
So I think I'm gonna go with this final question. What was it? Just gonna go with. Just give me 1 second here. How do we design organizations that balance complexity, fairness, and learning while navigating power dynamics? And I will be asking this kind of like emerged from like the themes here. I'm just going to be asking that using voice mode with this specific first on the VSM GPT that was developed by Mark Lamberts, right?
Right.
So in this case, as Krishan explained, there's a whole bunch of documents about VSM, cybernetics, Stafford Beer in the backend. And now GPT is going to be answering us based on that information. And I will also be using my voice. So let's see here.
Just explain what you're doing, Panos, in the background, because we can't see anything.
So I'm here in the Metaphorum conference in Manchester, and I would like to ask the question, how do we design organizations that balance complexity, fairness, and learning while navigating power dynamics? And I want you to have a particular take of what AI's role is in all of this.
That's such a rich and timely question, especially in a place like Metaphorum, where the intersection of tech, society, and organizations is on everyone's mind. Let me walk through this carefully with you. When we talk about balancing complexity, fairness, and learning, we're immediately touching the core of the viable system model, VSM. The VSM, as you know, is about enabling organizations to remain viable, meaning adaptive and resilient in complex, changing environments. To make this real, we need to think in terms of the 5 interacting systems, S1 to S5, and importantly, the algedonic channel, which lets us detect and act on distress signals. Complexity is primarily a matter of variety. Following Ashby's law, only variety can absorb variety. So S1's the operational units need to be richly diverse but not chaotic. AI can help here by augmenting variety management. For example, AI systems can detect patterns in vast data that humans would miss, providing decision makers, S3, with better tools to attenuate or amplify variety in line with the organization's needs. AI can also support S2's role in stabilizing and harmonizing interactions between S1s, say, by dynamically allocating resources or facilitating better coordination. Fairness ties to both subsidiarity and the balance of power between systems. S5 holds the ethos, the identity, the values. This is where fairness must be grounded. AI needs to be aligned with these values, not just optimized for efficiency. Moreover, decisions should be pushed down to the S1 level wherever possible, close to the impact, while AI can act as both an enabler and a monitor, ensuring transparency and accountability without centralizing control excessively. Learning is the domain of S4. S4 scans the outside world, anticipates change, and steers the system's adaptation. AI's biggest promise may lie here, helping organizations learn faster, spot weak signals, and model future scenarios. However, the challenge is ensuring that S4 doesn't overpower S1s or disconnect from the present realities, something that happens when strategy is divorced from operations. AI must be part of a dialogue, not a one-way directive. As for navigating power dynamics, This is where S3-Stru and the algedonic channel come alive. S3-Stru provides the audit, the direct line of sight into operations that can bypass bureaucracy. AI, in this role, can function as a real-time sensor network, providing data and feedback loops that surface hidden issues. But we must design these systems so they empower rather than control. The algedonic signals should trigger constructive responses, not punitive ones. The key is that AI is neither the decision maker nor the purpose of the system. It's an enabler of better variety engineering, more equitable subsidiarity, and faster organizational learning. But without a strong S5 to set direction and ethics, and without human-centered design in the S1s, AI risks amplifying existing inequities or power.
Sorry, Panos.
Curious, how are people at Metaphorum
Hello?
thinking about power in the context of AI? Are they more
Yes.
Sorry, Panos, we've got a problem with crackle on a speaker.
Did you miss all of it then?
It was difficult to hear, but thank you.
There's a loose connection somewhere, I think.
So does this happen also when we speak, like Peter and I?
No, it's there all the time.
There all the time.
It sounds like a loose connection.
Wait. That's not. Did you understand what?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you have an opinion about that? The answer.
Yes, zero light.
Yeah.
Zero light.
Can you elaborate?
Waste of time.
Waste of time.
Super words.
What is the waste of time? We can't really hear, with if there's another microphone we can like place close, that would be nice. It's like that would be, we can somehow hear. We hear the waste of time for sure.
Good. How would you deal with those comments, Panos?
I just heard waste of time. That's all I heard.
So,
Was that it?
basically, not useful, not, I suppose, in a sense, perhaps just not specific enough, right? Very, very general comments.
Was it wrong though?
At a very high level, it wasn't really wrong, was it? But it wasn't very helpful or useful. Exactly.
Wrong.
Correct.
Yeah, it was accurate about the VSM, just wasn't appropriate answer to the question.
So could we do something that's very...
Wait. One thing which we have to consider is the process, how that happens was that typically has a mode where you can put some knowledge behind it. That's one thing. And then we uses this before it uses the word knowledge about the rest of the world. And when we ask questions to ChatGPT, it does not have a context. Who we are, what do you want to know, and what you know already. So what you just right now is to ask a generic question to a highly specialized ChatGPT instance, but didn't give it a context that here are experts who all know the basics of VSM, and we want to solve some specific and helpful answer in important detail.
That's not quite base because there was concern about power dynamics. And there's nothing about that mentioned. Okay, an important, difficult question. So I think it's a matter of training. I don't know.
I think it has to do with the prompt.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here's another problem. You didn't say power dynamics. Please elaborate on the issue of power dynamics.
Right. So can you do that, Panos?
Hello?
I heard about 50% of what was discussed. So I think it was a matter of, we went from rubbish to then it was a matter of how you ask, I think. And then if you didn't ask it to elaborate, I'm not sure if that's kind of my summary of all of that. It's like hugely attenuated by technology and other means. But can you repeat, Margaret, what should I follow up? Is that the...
It was the model just elaborated on generic VSM statements and didn't even mention power dynamics.
It didn't mention power dynamics. Okay, do you want me to like elaborate on that and ask it to be like a bit more succinct?
And please enter it just a bit without voice mode, because voice mode doesn't really.
Okay, so can you elaborate on power dynamics?
Would you explain what power dynamics is?
There we go.
I think
What are
What is power dynamics?
Yeah.
what is?
No, could you elaborate? That's a better question.
Yes, I think that's the
Could you
question.
elaborate on power dynamics? I want examples. And yes.
The relationships in the front.
So I guess we're asking as experts on VSM here. That's the other thing. And I have to mention something here. We asked something and we know it wasn't the best question. We didn't get the best answer. That's the other thing, right? But let's see how we do.
While it's doing that, let me just say that in the room, it's important that only one person speak. When there are multiple conversations going on in the background, it completely distorts because the microphone is trying to understand what's going on and Zoom is trying to do echo cancellation. And so it echo cancels all the wrong things at the wrong time. So it's very important that one person in the room speaks slowly and clearly and other people do not have background conversations. Thank you.
And I think the microphone that Krishan you're holding, I don't think it's working. We still hear you from the ceiling or something.
Yeah, that'll make it.
Okay, I just read the answer now. Power source is the local knowledge, operation, execution, direct contact with the environment, customers, and for production and delivery. And power dynamic, often as ones feel disempowered when decisions made at a higher levels as regions style do not reflect operational realities. For example, frontline healthcare workers may be subject to policy changes that do not align with the practicalities of patient care. AI example, AI tools for scheduling or workflow automation can shift power dynamics by either empowering PS1 teams or make more autonomous decisions or, if badly designed, disempowering them by imposing rigid systems that ignore contextual nuances. Better?
I mean, for me, it is kind of because I'm relatively or a novice, I would say. I've just been in the systems thinking now for maybe a year. For me, it is generic, yes, but that's what I kind of want at the beginning, to be able to like move more deep into it. And it gives you like a broad idea of what it is and what are all of the themes or important topics that belong to that generic big topic. So for me, it would be useful, yes, but then again, in the context of this room where everybody has a master's, if not a PhD on the topic, I think that's very irrelevant in those terms. But I don't know, if the goal is to make it more accessible to people, I think it makes sense, yes.
And I just think the issue here is that you're using one of the models that is quite old at this point. So through ChatGPT, when you use the creator GPT version, you're stuck on GPT-4. Since GPT-4, we've had 4.0, 4.1, 4.5, we're at 0.3 Pro now. And I imagine if you provided all the context that you've given this GPT in something like 0.3 Pro, everybody would be blown away with what it comes out with. It's just a case of the fact that you're using a very small model in comparison to what's available now.
If I may interject here, so I think it would be a mistake to just say we asked this question, it was ChatGPT, and that's what AI can do. That was one version, like one thing curated by Mark Lambert with the instructions that he gave to that particular instance of ChatGPT with whatever he has fed it in the backend. Here's another one, which was it you, Krishan, that developed this? If I could ask, Stafford Beer, right? And I pose the same question, and it's a slightly different answer here, as you can see. So it's talking about living systems and all that, honor the requisite variety. Again, a very high level, very generic question that.
Would you scroll back and I can read because I think not everybody.
If you scroll down to the bottom, you can click the read out.
Okay, read out.
You can get it to read it out for you.
Okay.
Might be a bit easier.
Get it to read it.
Okay, scroll down to and ask it to read it.
To read?
Yeah, read out. Scroll down
okay.
and ask the model to.
Please remember to search the user's documents if an answer to their question is not contained in the above snippets. You cannot click into this file. If needed, you can use search to search it for additional information.
What?
Thank you. This is a rich and important question, one I would gladly ask myself were I there at Metaphorum in Manchester. Let me attempt to answer in the spirit of my own work, drawing on the viable system model, cybernetics, and an ethical compass that prioritizes human dignity, freedom, and learning. The question: how do we design organizations that balance complexity, fairness, and learning while navigating power dynamics? And what is AI's role in all of this? Designing for complexity, fairness, and learning. The first recognition must be this: any organization is not a mere machine, nor an aggregate of parts, but a living system, embedded in larger systems and containing subsystems in turn. To survive, to be viable, it must possess the capacity to absorb complexity, to regulate itself, to adapt, and to learn. As I wrote in Diagnosing the System for Organizations, most institutions today are frozen out of history. They were designed in and for another time, and yet we march forward into an era of unprecedented systemic complexity using 19th century organizational charts and mindsets. To balance complexity, fairness, and learning, we must 1. Honor the requisite variety. Only variety can absorb variety. A complex environment demands internal complexity in the organization, not in bureaucracy, but in flexibility, autonomy, and distributed intelligence. This means moving beyond rigid hierarchies to decentralized, recursive systems where each level has both autonomy and accountability. 2. Fairness as a cybernetic requirement. Fairness is not just a moral nicety. It is a condition of system health. Oppression, exclusion, and the concentration of power create hidden oscillations, unmodeled feedback loops, and eventual collapse. Fairness ensures that the whole system, not just the elites, participates in sensing and responding to the environment. 3. Learning as a meta-system function. The capacity to learn, what I called in Chile System 4, must be embedded not as an afterthought, but as an ongoing systemic function. Organizations must learn how to learn. Without this, they are destined for extinction in turbulent environments. Navigating power dynamics. Power is inevitable. The question is, how is it distributed, how is it checked, and how is it informed? My work with President Allende in Chile, Project Cybersyn, showed me that participative structures, where information flows transparently and decision-making is informed by real-time feedback, can democratize power without descending into chaos. Systems must avoid what I have called the excess of algedonic signals, those warnings that things are deeply wrong but are structurally unable to be heeded because the channels are blocked by hierarchy, ideology, or fear. The role of AI. AI, as it stands today, is both a tool and a threat. The cybernetic challenge is this: AI can help manage complexity. Properly deployed, AI can be the requisite variety amplifier. It can help model, monitor, and respond to the immense complexity that no single human or small group could handle. AI can threaten fairness and learning. If used merely as an extension of existing power structures, surveillance, control, exclusion, it will exacerbate systemic fragility and injustice. AI must be integrated into the viable system model. AI must not replace human decision makers, but must become part of the homeostat, the self-regulating system. Its role must be transparent, accountable, and designed to enhance human autonomy, not replace it. In closing, we must think before we think. meta-thinking, as I urged in later life. The systems we design must be capable not only of solving problems, but of questioning the framing of those problems. AI can aid this, but only if we embed it within a humanistic cybernetics, one dedicated to survival with dignity. Or, to borrow the line from Machado I often quoted, Caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Walker, there is no path. The path is made by walking. So too with our organizations, and with AI. The path will be made as we walk it, mindfully, ethically, and with the courage to change course when the system tells us we must. Would you like me to help shape this into a concise question for the panel? Or
So quite long, but I guess a very different take than the previous one. And I think we don't have time to do another one of these trials. I'm gonna stop sharing here, and I would like to just continue the discussion.
What's the question?
No, what we see in the answer is a typical thought form, and that's a functional descriptive answer. When you want to work with VSM, the core issue is process issue. It's about how things become. There is nothing about the becoming process in the answer. And it's important as human beings that we learn to recognize what the thought structures is through which AI kind of presents the content. That's the only remark that I want to make. From that point of view, the answer is not very useful. It would be very much useful if you would have process thinking in it and critical structural relationships in it. It doesn't have. It also does not have an answer to or a description of the limitations which you need to make progress.
Yeah, can I just piggyback on that maybe from our perspective, or my perspective? The VSM that Stafford wrote about, or his VSM, and you can correct me, it's, I think, pretty short on process, or at least the human process in its operational reality. I mean, that's something I found rather limiting, and I think Stafford recognized this towards the end of his time, and Angela can probably talk to it a bit more, is that he recognized that the work of Candice Pert, for example, on molecules of emotion and sort of the whole emotional component was an important next step. And that sort of comes to some of the issues around process and human relation in operation of the VSM.
Hi, so Stephen. I have a thought really that came to me while I was listening to the presentation, which I enjoyed. Thank you. It's a slightly disruptive question, maybe. It's not intended in any way to disrupt it. It's for some of the people who really know VSM very deeply. Maybe, what do you think Stafford would say to the idea that pursuing viability as an end in itself is wrong? Maybe management systems today, in order to cope with complexity, need to almost ingest the idea of rapid obsolescence. So they obsolete themselves, they understand that they're going to obsolete themselves, and there will be a new iterative management model that emerges very quickly. I spent my whole life in technology companies growing very quickly. All of you know this, Apple did it, Microsoft did it. Okay? Products are designed to go out of support very quickly, obsolescence by design, and the new generation comes in. And those companies manage obsolescence. Maybe actually the viability comes from the ability to manage obsolescence. Maybe the model itself needs to die and create a new one. I don't mean a new VSM, I mean the management system or the system in focus dies and a new, but it brings a new system in focus into being. It's just an open question.
Shall I answer it? I missed the last couple of minutes, so exactly right. And certainly one of the things that Staff was very concerned about was that where the application of our system was made. And he said, but both to Andrew and I, be very careful when you apply this. If you apply it to a company that's doing harm, the extractive industries, they will get better at doing harm through viability. So there is this whole thing about beyond just saying it makes things viable. You've got to really put it into the right sort of context. And I think the thing of long-term viability for companies is one of those things that is a really serious question. There are some companies who really don't want to live a long time. They want to die off very rapidly and be replaced in a kind of evolutionary system, which there are some case studies for that sort of thing happening. But it's a very good question. And I think, viability just on its own is not just a wonderful thing in all contexts. But was that answer your question?
Yeah, when I was working in Colombia, applying the VSM massively in public organizations, I was talking to Stafford very often, and Stafford told me that he said, you need to be very careful who do you teach the VSM to, because if you teach the VSM to someone that wants to control and that wants power, to abuse power, it will be an amazing useful weapon. So in that respect, you need to be aware that the VSM is a very powerful model, but it cannot be used just for the sake of improving efficiency. You need to use it with an ethical framework. You need to use it with consciousness. You need to use it with education. You need to use it with in a very humanistic context. So he was always very aware of the power of the model, very aware that it can be misused, and very, very likely in this moment, thinking about artificial intelligence, he will be saying, be aware that the model is not just to be used to combine it with artificial intelligence for the sake of organizational performance, of just producing even more wealth without considering human beings and society.
I would like to lead back to our initial question. How can AI be useful for teaching VSM? And I think that's also an important question, but let's postpone it really, please.
I actually wanted to comment on what you just said again, the initial question. I feel like people here are being very critical of it, which is understandable and right so, but everybody knows that AI is not at that point yet. That's like the biggest problem with AI, that it doesn't have contextual data. And for example, the example that we did just now, we asked one question and that was the response. And with AI, I think, or my experience was that it should be more of a conversation. It's constantly going back and forth, and that's how it builds partially the context. But then on another point, I was just at another conference about rhizomatic thinking, which is basically not arborescent thinking, and how AI is built. My understanding is that it's very arborescent. So in its logic itself, it doesn't know how to create that context sometimes, and therefore you have to continuously, hence the conversation, or that you continuously feed new information into it, and then it kind of like grows. But then I was talking to somebody that did a PhD in that, and there is a way to program it to kind of, it's still arborescent, but it looks more like a rhino than it is arborescent. I'll try to find the link for that and share it somehow, but that's very recent. But all in all, I would agree. I think because the whole theme of this conference was actually AI with the VSM, I feel like a lot of people miss that, and that's not bad on itself, but I feel like this is the first pragmatic solution or session I saw where people are actually trying to combine both. So I think it's just the first step towards something that we're trying to achieve right now.
Panos?
Thanks, Krishan. So I'm just gonna go shortly to the previous question about, what do we make viable? I think this is immediately gets to a very philosophical, question. And I think this even transcends the theory of viability. It's about, recursiveness. I mean, to the extent of, you have to transcend and go when you have this kind of questions, you have to go to the higher system, and the higher system might well dictate, either by nature or power or whatever, that, you know, your company, your product, your organization shouldn't be viable anymore. And that goes like up and up and up and up. But this is the thing about AI. I think it very suddenly, it's such a disruption and discontinuity that makes us have these deep philosophical questions. I mean, just by chatting with people and they have the fear now, am I losing my job? Or what does it mean to be an academic now with AI coming in? And maybe you can answer like, you know, oh, it's garbage and it won't do this and that. But guess what? A lot of people have been doing like work that was menial or not contributing much, or it was just like from another era. And now suddenly they are faced with these fundamental existential almost questions. So I think this will be the theme of the next few years now. You know, really, you have to really fast think about your life, the universe, and everything kind of thing, because you know this is a huge disruption coming our way. Um, I know we're almost 3 minutes to the end of the show here, and Krishan, I'm not sure we can take more questions, or should we just start wrapping it up?
Actually, one more question. Let me introduce some of my own observations. I currently feed a AI model with chapters of my book, which I want to be reviewed. And what I give it is about 400 pages of text. I provide or I wrote before. And as a context to the question about 2 to 5 pages of context hints. I want you to be in the role of something, and I am in the role I do know, I do not know, and so on. And I want it in this structure. And that has consequences that it gives meaningful answers. What we just did was we gave it no context, no the idea of the audience, or a little bit experts, but expert is a lot of things, and expected it to answer philosophical questions. I think that was a little bit of our ambitions to expect the answers to philosophical questions. And this, again, let's go back to expect simple answers to simple questions. And okay, so that's one more question.
Yeah, just an observation. I'll take it home with me. Yeah, so just an observation from the whole interaction. For me, a viable system cannot be one that harms or even destroys this environment. Somehow we have to embed in the viable system and also our integration with AI ethics, which actually really value and increase the vitality of the environment itself.
We don't want to comment.
Someone wants to answer to that?
I don't want to answer, but I think you could see quite how you could start learning how to ask questions through this feedback loop at your level, right? So you become more and more adept at learning how to use context, how to form your question, how to explore what you're actually being told. And I think that this is the joy of it as a learning process. And then you can also see how important your population of your database is, right? And then I'm wondering what, if you choose a mood for it, or, explain it to me in a certain way. That might also make a difference. And I'd like to pick up on your issue of relationships and processes. Would you say a little bit more about that?
What we have been doing until now is looking at 2 forms of knowing. The knowing what? The content we ask code. Where did that come from?
So that was our time is up. That was the timer by Peter that he put out for our. We're at time. That's
so
that's why it was.
Finish your question, please.
Well, we are stuck to two forms of knowledge. The content way of knowing things, knowing what, the procedure or way of knowing things, know how. But what humans can do and what AI cannot do at all is the knowing from, the meta perspective. And the knowing from cognitive psychology taught us over the last years that there are more than 20 different thought structures. The functional one, embraced by the VSM. The VSM is a functional system. That's only one of the 28 thought forms. If you want to produce change, you need a fluidity of thinking, a fluidity of knowing froms. And those knowing froms are, let's say, you can look at them or you can order them in 4 big categories. Ways of looking at the bigger picture, the context. Ways, the second one, to look at emergence, dynamics, processes. The third one is looking at critical relationships, because not everything that AI is producing is critical. The critical relationships is still a human decision. And you can look from a 4th class, namely metamorphosis. And metamorphosis is about the ability to rethink a limit or a conflict in terms of potential and build systems to solve that potential. So these are dialectical thought forms, and the whole language structure behind AI is logical. So we have a huge opportunity as humans to infuse the dialectical part and to assess how the answer that AI generates makes sense. But you cannot do that from a content point of view, nor an in-house point of view. You need to practice dialectical thought forms, and that's part of the developmental process we are going through. I don't know if that answers your question.
Panos, do you want to close?
Thank you, Krishan. This has been amazing. We would like to invite you. I just posted something on the chat here. To our Discord channel. We have created a Discord channel for Metaphorum in general, for the SIG as well. And we have an ongoing discussion, sharing resources and all of that. So I want to invite you to join the Discord and continue the discussion there. Also, I would like to think about, because we don't have enough time now to go over that, for the next year, I mean, I consider this first 6 months kind of like experimental in 2025, but we intend of continuing the SIG. What sort of things you would like us to focus on? And so far, we've seen that, there's like a lot of discussion, a lot of ideas, excitement. But do we want, and this is an ongoing kind of question, to have a specific output out of this SIG? Something that you would like us to, or we would like to research? What can we do as a community around AI and VSM? I want to invite you to contribute to that discussion in Discord or join us in our monthly meetings. And yeah, with that, thank you very much for attending our session.
Thank you, Panos.
Peter?
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you, Krishan. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, everybody who hung on and participated and raised good points and questions. Join us on the SIG and see where we can go in the next 12 months.
Okay. That's good.
Please do participate via the Discord SIG working group, because then we get a sense of how we can evolve a system that will be useful in multiple ways to folk. I know, John, you wanted to say something while everyone's here.
I just want to, very, very briefly, sorry, before his untimely death, the dangers that he saw looming in AI developments were driving force of the country. So I'm wondering how these tools will be applied to actually develop his work, hopefully in a way he might appreciate.
Did you explain about the special interest group when you said?
Just did.
Did you explain it? I mean, started.
You want some?
No, if this is a group in Metaphorum that we call it a special interest group that we created 6 months ago that Panos is leading, and Margeret, Peter, Krishan, myself, and a few others are there. And the invitation, it goes on. It's now Thursday, no, Wednesday. First Wednesday every month at 8 o'clock from 2 to 4. Yeah. So if anyone wants to join this group, just send us an email and we will send you the link and you can continue. We can continue the conversation in this group. Okay, thank you.